What do you want to say to Lucas real quick before we get started on this thing?
I was just going to say that I don't remember now. But.
Do we need to do the clap thing? What do we need to do?
No.
Hey, what about this, Lucas? What is going on, great ones? Darryl and Phil back again with the OTG podcast. And today we got a show that is very relevant to what we're going through.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, my life is kind of all over the place at the moment. So I just show up.
You know, Phil and I were each co-hosts of this show. And how that works is Phil just shows up and we start talking and I tell him what we're talking about as we go.
That's kind of what's going on right now. Maybe we change that in the future.
Nah, man. I think it works great.
Okay.
Look,
well, before you even tell me what's going on, how about the setup that we're chilling in right now?
Well, that's kind of what's going on.
Oh, okay.
So as you can see, man, we got a whole completely new setup. We went and bought a brand new 200,000 square foot state of the art facility so that we could record our podcast in. No, I'm just kidding. It's a spare bedroom at my house. But we did get all the fancy gadgets. We got these. Look at these slick microphones. If you're watching on YouTube,
yeah, if you haven't seen the first episode or two, make sure that you do that so you can.
Oh yeah, you got to see the difference.
You got to see the growth.
Now that being said, we are growing. We are not grown because I'm draped. This is going to be my backdrop once we have time to hang it up. I couldn't decide if I wanted to frame it or wanted to tack it or where exactly it needed to be.
How about just wear it?
So I decided I was just going to wear it.
Yeah.
Speaking of wearing, I'm also wearing slippers right now because it's really cold outside.
It's freezing outside. Have you even been outside today? Daryl's off on Fridays, and that's when we record. So.
Yeah, I have been outside for probably a collective amount of 64 seconds.
Ooh, I was outside at 4:45 this morning. It was awful.
Sorry to hear that. That's one of my favorite times. Is when I usually leave for work during the week. So. Anyhow, what we got going on is we've made the move. We've transitioned to.
Hopefully, this microphone is not in my face. I don't know. Whatever.
Okay. See that we're growing, man. Yeah. We're not grown. Yeah. That's the point. And it's kind of the point of the OTG movement. But we've made the transition to a spare bedroom at my house, and we got some microphones, we got some different cameras, we got some lights, we got some backdrops coming.
Yeah, I ordered one too on Etsy the other day.
Nice.
It'll probably be a few weeks before it comes in because custom or whatever.
So, and if anybody, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably most of you, this is how I feel. This flag
American
represents how I feel. Yes.
Is that like an what do you call it when you describe an adjective? Is American an adjective?
I guess so. I'm going to make an adjective. It's going to be a descriptive noun.
Yeah, that's an adjective. And it's not a noun. It's an adjective.
Well, I guess it is a noun because America is a place. Person, place, or thing.
America, the only word that's a verb and a noun.
An adverb, an adjective. I don't even know what these words mean. Okay, so this segues us perfectly into our topic of the day. And I think we're going to title this show Momentum.
Okay.
And momentum is... like I said, let's go back to our first episode and, kind of how we described what we want to do with this, with this podcast. And essentially, to break it down, to shorten it all up, is we want to talk about topics that are near and dear to us, the kind of things we've went through, experiences that we've went through that have gotten us to where we are, and also we'll eventually talk about where we're going to go, right?
Sure.
Which, the OTG movement is on the move; it's growing, and momentum is a very important factor. And I think Phil and I have both experienced momentum and lack of momentum too.
Oh, for sure.
In our careers, business endeavors, fitness journeys.
Fitness for sure. Momentum is super important when it comes to your fitness goals.
Well, and so, momentum is it's you have to create it yourself, but once you do, it's something that will carry you. You know, it'll carry you through, because you're not always going to be you're not always going to feel super motivated. But
see, you know, like and I don't know where we're going with this, but the thing that keeps me motivated, I think, more than anything, is results. So results lead to momentum, which leads to more results, right? And it's just this snowball effect.
Well, exactly. So so a snowball effect is exactly how I would describe where we're going to take this thing. And currently we're, I would say, if my snowball started about the size of a marble, we're in the golf ball stage, but I plan on it being about the size of the sun.
Give or take. That was my next question.
Yeah, give or take, right?
What's the end goal?
So we went from a marble, now we're at a golf ball, and eventually we're going to be the size of the sun.
Nice. I'm ready.
So momentum, man, and I guess we'll talk about, let's talk about how you create it, and then, you know, how it will carry you, how it'll carry you through.
Sure.
So, you know, momentum's important too, and it's relevant when you're talking about, like I said, business. You're talking about fitness. You're talking about personal, anything in your personal life, your relationships. Once you start to build momentum, achieving your goals won't be easier, but it'll feel easier and easier and easier as the snowball continues to grow, gets more momentum. It's running downhill. And so let's just talk, let's talk about it from a generic standpoint. Whatever you want to achieve, you got to create a plan, right? Yeah. Well, you got to outline what exactly it is that you want. In fitness, if you want shredded 6-pack or 8-pack abs, okay, that's what you want. So you've established the end goal, right? In business, if you want to open up a gym, perfect. That's the end goal, right? Just an example. You wanted to open up a gym. If you want to create a real estate investment portfolio and you want to have 50 rental units, okay, that's the end goal. You've established what the goal is, right? So that's step number one, very beginning. What's the ultimate for you? Where do you want to take it? And side note, it's okay if that changes over time, right?
Yeah, because like all the things that you just listed, like what I was thinking about as you're saying those is all the things you just listed are huge goals.
Right.
You know what I mean? And step one is something really small that comes before that. And
absolutely.
That builds the momentum.
That's the marble.
Over time.
So the marble, or maybe even sometimes just
like the piece of sand.
The size of a piece of sand.
Yeah. Grain of salt.
Is that maybe don't go analogy? As small as the atom, because you got to be able to see it.
Yeah. I like grain of salt.
Okay, so you start as the size of a grain of salt. Let's go with the marble, man. Marble's the way to go.
Okay.
That's a little bit too. See, we're getting some momentum, y'all. We're
our
starting.
Table is not exactly
so
great.
So you got to create a plan. What's the end goal for you, right? And
hold on, just adjusting my my microphone stand here. I have a little issue. Okay, we're good.
All right, let's go down
a little bit.
Down. Right there, man.
Oh,
dude,
got it.
That is flawlessly executed. Okay. I mean, that's how I would do it if I had a microphone. Oh. But so go back to the topic here, and it's all growing pains, y'all. We're trying to get this podcast rolling, and this pertains to the podcast. So you lay out your plan, you get your marble right, and so you know where you want to go, and you're gonna have to achieve these things to get there. If you want 6-pack abs, you're going to have to clean up your diet. You're going to have to put some ab exercises in your workout regimen. You're going to have to
execute day after day after day after day.
Right. Yeah. You're going to have to execute over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to change some things in your life. If you want to open up a gym, you're going to have to get a business plan together. You're going to have to save some money.
For sure.
You're going to have to maybe seek financial help or advice, whether that be from a lender or an individual who's maybe owned a gym before. You're going to have to take...
Highly recommended to do that, coming from experience. Ask someone that's done it before.
Yeah. But real quick, if you want shredded 6-pack abs, I'm not your guy. unfortunately. But so because I don't have shredded six-pack abs yet.
That's the key.
So you're gonna have to do some things, right? If you want to obtain 50 rental units, right, as a real estate investing portfolio, kind of the same idea. You're gonna have to save some money. You're gonna have to figure out how the lending process works. You're gonna have to figure out legality of all this. How do you protect yourself? You're gonna have to maybe call up or listen to some people that have done this. Some very similar to open up your gym. And these are just 3 examples. So shredded six-pack abs, opening up a gym, investing. Same thing with stocks. It translates very similarly.
It's all the same.
You got to have the money to do it. So you know what you want. You know the big chunks that you're going to have to do to get there. And then you got to break it down, and you got to start. You touched it earlier. You got to start executing daily. So even break it. You got to break it down again. So let's take the six-pack abs for example, and you know that you're going to have to clean up your diet first and foremost. And say your diet is just really all over the place and it's out of control, right? You don't want to flip the light switch and change everything about the way that you eat all in one split second because you decided right then and there that you want six-pack abs. And all of a sudden you're a completely different person whenever you're making diet decisions, and you just forget about everything else. Because I've seen this firsthand, and it's happened to me firsthand. It can be very overwhelming whenever you make that big of a switch right off the bat. So break it down even further and say, okay, I'm going to need to clean up my diet, which means maybe make some broad brush strokes here and say, okay, hey, I need to limit my alcohol consumption. That's one small thing that I can do. So limit your alcohol consumption. Maybe you limit your refined sugars and carbohydrates. And you up your protein intake, or 3 things that you want to do. So maybe you start by doing one of those, and you do it for 2 weeks, right? And you say, okay, I know that one of the goals I want to do is not drink any more alcohol. So you start executing daily, right? Maybe you're still eating the carbohydrates. Maybe your protein's not necessarily higher, but you took a baby step. The old cliche saying, crawl before you sprint, or crawl before you walk, and then walk before you sprint, right? So you're crawling. Once you quit drinking that alcohol, or from the business standpoint, once you start saving that little bit of money, right, and you're executing small things day in and day out, right? So maybe you started by saving $100 each paycheck, right? And every time that paycheck rolls in, you save 100, you save 100, and that now becomes your new normal. Your new normal, right? That becomes your new baseline, right? So I know that I can save $100. I know that I cannot drink alcohol, and boom, you don't sacrifice these things. You don't trade, right? You don't say, okay, so I quit alcohol for a little while, and now I need to get the refined sugars out of there. So I'm going to cut the refined sugars out, but I'm going to put the alcohol back in.
No, you build a habit one at a time.
One at a time.
Once your new place becomes normal, then you add another one.
Once you've got that win, right? You've got that win. You haven't drank alcohol for a month, and now you're like, okay, I'm ready to cut the refined sugars out of this diet. Along with, you've already won the battle with alcohol. So now you can add in, you can cut out those refined sugars, right? And so you cut those out. So you stack these small wins up, and then your marble, or your grain of sand, your marble has become a golf ball, right? Because you've got that second one on there. Boom, you start getting.
Yeah, I mean, all the time people come to the gym and they're like, oh, they're asking all these specific questions. Actually, just this morning I was talking to a new client, and she had the most detailed spreadsheet of her food intake I've ever seen in my life. It was
interesting.
It was amazing, to be honest with you. I told her I'm going to steal it and start using it, but
broke down like macronutrients.
Yes,
broke down?
Perfectly. She had columns for what did the box say? What was the serving size? How much did I eat? And she had there's different pages.
Did she have the times listed out?
Yes.
How many bites she took?
No.
Not impressed. I'm just kidding. It sounds
like
impressive.
each page like correlated with the next page and everything, and so it had all the formulas in there for it to give your total and everything. It was amazing. And so
Okay, so it's like she had a column with caloric intake, and then you could add it up. At
and
the bottom.
it was just like it was all perfect, like literally as good as you can get. And so what I asked her was, do you feel good about doing this, because you don't need to jump this deep
Not immediately
into this thing immediately. So I always tell people, like, don't go from point A to point. If your goal is B, like A and a half.
Yeah,
it's probably a good place to be.
And there's different levels of people's I guess baseline, or what they're comfortable with right off the bat is it's different. Every it's individual, right? You may be comfortable building your spreadsheet right off the bat, and you're tracking all your stuff. And I'm this fat guy over here that hates Excel. Right, I don't like to use spreadsheets. Right, and two, I have I eat cookies at 2:30 in the morning every morning. So maybe your baseline is starting by building the spreadsheet and tracking it all, and maybe I eat one less cookie at 2:30 a.m. Maybe that's where our individual starting points are.
Yeah, and what the starting point for me, like you're talking about these steps or whatever, but even before the steps is to write down the steps.
Right.
To take pen to paper and actually write them down, because it kind of, for me, like it clears your head. Like, I know, depending on how much you have going on in your head, it's really hard to, and I don't know if you have these, maybe I'm getting ahead, but it's really hard to focus on the small things when you have so many big things flowing through your thoughts all the time.
Right. And no, I'm absolutely a write it down type of guy. You can ask anybody around me, really. I'm some people like notes on their phone. Doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work for me
notepad,
either.
Man.
Yeah, I use a notepad.
I got a notepad right here on the table. I don't know if y'all can see that. I mean, GoPros, apparently they can see 360 degrees all the time because they have the greatest wide lens of all time.
Apparently.
But it doesn't really work when you're trying to cut certain things out of the background of your podcast, and you got the wide lens on, and it can literally see different planets from what the angle that you're on. It's really annoying. We just went through that a minute ago. But yeah, writing it down. So writing it down, that takes us back to our plan, right? You created your plan. So maybe your big headline, right, is 6-pack abs. That's what you want, right? That's the big one. And there's bullet points underneath that. So it's going to take a meticulous diet. It's going to take implementing ab exercises into your workout regimen. It's going to take so hold on, what did I say? It's going to take the diet. It's going to take working them into your workout regimen. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take overcoming soreness, right? Because you're going to be sore.
Time.
It's going to take time, right? You think all these things that it's going to take. And then I feel like you can, that's the whole point of what we were talking about is you start with the alcohol, and then you attack the refined sugars. Then you break that diet column down again. And if you need to, break it down again. Break it down again and again until it is small enough for you to get started. Maybe I'm comfortable starting with a golf ball and Phil needs a grain of sand. Maybe there's somebody out there that's comfortable with starting with the beach ball.
I mean, you got to dig deep. You know who's really good at that is Nicole. She can talk to a client about mostly, digging up why do you want to achieve this goal, whatever the goal is.
Right. And
if you ask yourself why you want to do it, and then you do that again and again and again, eventually you dig so deep that you find the real reason.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Finding the why is, I guess it ties into this. It's very important to know your why, but I feel like that can be an overwhelming topic right off the bat for somebody. You say, "Oh, what's your why? Why do you want to do it?" And they feel like, "Oh, well, maybe they just saw a picture of somebody on Instagram with 6-pack abs and they thought it was badass." Maybe that's why.
I talk to people all the time and they say that. Like,
that's fine.
I ask them and they can't figure it out. And, you want them to, but sometimes it takes patience.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And just figure out what's step one for you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What's step one for you?
So you've written it down, right? You've made what's your ultimate goal? You've written it down. You've busted it all down into columns and micro columns. as many times as you need to. Maybe you know that you need to cut alcohol out. Maybe you got a diet. You say diet, and under that is alcohol, and under alcohol is days of the week that you drink alcohol. Maybe you stop drinking on Thursday and you just do Friday, Saturday, and then you take another day. Whatever it takes, man.
Yep.
Do whatever it takes to get that momentum going. You push that snowball off the edge of that hill. And this hill's it's more level at first, right? And then it goes down and down and down and down. And then next thing you know, you got this massive, it's going to be,
and you're jumping on top of the snowball and sprinting.
And riding. So you start stacking up the small wins, and you don't sacrifice one for the other. You get good at one. It doesn't get easier. You just got better at it, right? So it's not easier to quit drinking alcohol, but you've gotten better at it because you've done it for 2 months, right? And it hasn't got, from the business perspective, you haven't gotten easy, or saving money hasn't gotten easier, and maybe you haven't necessarily started making more money, but you've gotten better at saving the money.
It becomes normal.
It becomes your baseline, right? Hey, I know I've been saving $100 a week out of my paycheck for 6 months. I can up it to $125 or $150.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's really the secret to real growth, is that growth has to become second nature.
Yeah.
You have to be so ingrained, like wanting to grow and become better is as important as breathing.
Absolutely.
It's right up there with breathing air. If not, there's a good chance you ain't gonna make it. It's just, it just is what it is. You have to constantly, I guess this is more about like with personal growth, maybe more than like a weight loss thing, because weight loss is sometimes hard, sometimes easy or whatever. But when it comes to personal growth,
it's all relative to the individual.
It is relative to the individual. And for me, success and growth is ingrained so deeply. It's literally from the moment you wake up all day.
How can you grow this thing?
Until you go to sleep, and then you're dreaming about it. Yeah, and it never stops.
And you're growing.
And that might sound a little excessive, but how great do you want to be?
Right. And well, Phil, I think what needs to be, now that you've said that about yourself, that's how you feel. I feel like it's important that we tie this back to the beginning. Whenever you were a teenager and your mom had just passed away from a heart attack at the age of 36, what were we, 15? We were 15 or so. From that moment on, you started to create a plan, right? And then, it was like, hey, I need to. This whole move. Let's take it back. This whole movement started as you not wanting to die of a heart attack at a young age.
Yeah, pretty much.
The reason that we're sitting in these chairs
took me like 5 years to figure it out, but
I'm glad that you said that.
To start,
that is a great point. It took
literally
you 5 years to begin.
Yeah, to start.
Phil.
I was 20. I was like 20 before I even started,
and it was all because we were sitting in this chair talking about OTG, the gym, the movement, the T-shirt, because you didn't want to die of a heart attack at a young age. Yeah, that's where it started.
Pretty much.
That was the grain. That was the grain of sand.
It all starts with something. Everything happens for a reason, and
that was the grain of sand that is now like this thing's like a baseball.
And what's funny is like, that's how it started. But what really gave me the big momentum is I was just tired of kids calling me fat, man. Kids are evil.
Yeah,
kids are awful, and they will point out your flaws. They're dead honest, and when you different things affect you in different ways, and to me, honestly, that was just as much of a motivator. You know what I mean? And then once you get some results, though, and then people tell you, "Oh man, like your face looks thinner, or you're looking good," you're like, "There's that momentum."
There it is,
and it just keeps rolling.
You start to build that. Yeah, your whatever size your ball is at that time is starting to go faster and faster and faster, right? And you started to lose some weight. People started to tell you that, your face was looking thinner, and you were starting to realize you could run further when you went out for your run.
Oh, yeah.
And you started realizing you were getting better at counting your calories, and it just you stacked up these small wins, man. You got the small win, small win, small win, small win. So, in the grand scheme of things, 10, 15 years ago when this all began, opening up the gym, maybe the size of a basketball, that started as the grain of sand because a kid called you fat or because your mom died of a heart attack at the age of 36. That was the grain of sand. Ever since then, you've stacked small, tiny win after tiny win after tiny win. You weren't making this huge salary at your last job that just allowed you to work for 6 months and then go open up your own gym.
Right.
That's not how it went down.
No.
It wasn't like you got...
Yeah, and I
You
mean...
didn't get lucky.
Yeah, and if you are in that position, take advantage. Like,
Oh, hell yeah. I'm not mad at anybody
No.
that's in that position,
Yeah.
right? If you are, can you help me out?
Yeah.
But,
Use a loan.
I can use a loan. But, you know, stack your small wins, man.
For sure.
Stack your small wins.
And check them off. When you write them down, like when you achieve something, check it off.
Check them off.
Give yourself that.
Give yourself some credit for
What's
it.
the word? I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Credit, I guess, will work for now. But
Yeah. Well, you know, you basically acknowledge it for yourself, right? Hey, man, you know, I did this. I said I was going to do this thing, and I did it.
Right.
And you check it off, but you got to keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it, and then you add something else in. You add something else in, and none of it gets easier. You just get better. And then, lastly, I think this is kind of you know, a step in here that is overlooked a lot. And one thing that kind of made me realize how important it was whenever I heard somebody say something similar to this, and then I kind of chewed on it for a while, and I kind of created my own, I guess, outlook or way to say it, the way that I think of it. You know, I didn't create any of this. It's just how my brain invented it, right? So be accountable to yourself through all of this. That includes what you just said. Give yourself credit for the small wins. Acknowledge the losses, right? If you don't do something
for
right.
sure. Yeah, definitely acknowledge the failures.
Don't beat yourself up and say, "Oh, well, I can never do it because, you know, I drank a beer or I ate a cookie at 2 a.m. and now I need to just abandon everything because I failed one thing."
The best thing that you can do at that point is go back to where you wrote it down. Write down, what did you do? Okay,
Yeah.
you know what you did. Well, if you would have done this 6 months ago, maybe you would take that approach.
Yeah.
But now you have a different mindset.
Yeah. Now you've
And
changed.
so your growth is now the way you react.
Yep.
The way you react to that situation. If you don't allow yourself to fall backwards, that's a win. That is still a win. Just because you failed, quote, failed, that doesn't mean that you haven't improved from last time.
I guess this is not a slippery slope. It's a slope, but it's not slippery. You might slip and fall. Don't let it derail you, man. Yeah. Don't let it derail you.
Write down what you learned from it too.
Yeah, write down what you learned from it. So be accountable to yourself. You said, think about it from, and this is kind of the way that it resonated with me. You tell yourself you're going to do this one thing. You're going to quit drinking the alcohol. You're going to go to the gym 4 times a week. And you don't do it. Mm-hmm. And you start to realize that I guess you basically paint this picture to yourself that you can't do it, right? You haven't been reliable to yourself, right? You haven't been accountable to yourself. But I tell you what, if your boss tells you to come in 30 minutes early at work, you're probably going to get there 30 minutes early.
You figure it out. If you tell your family that you're going to meet them at this time for dinner, you're probably going to be there at that time, more than likely. People are more capable than they give themselves credit for.
Right. Well,
it's amazing.
That's a good point. They're more but my point is this. You tell yourself you'll go to the gym 4 days a week, but you won't do it. You'll just internalize it, and you'll take the L and you'll move on.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
But if your boss tells you to come in, you're going to get there. So you're accountable to him.
Yeah.
You're accountable to him, her, but you're not accountable to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I told my boss that I would get there 30 minutes early, and when I got there 30 minutes early, she was happy about it. But, I told myself I was going to go to the gym 4 days a week, but I didn't do it, so I just kind of backed off and faded out.
The whole work in silence thing, and then show them your success in 5 years or whatever. That has its place or whatever. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, telling other people, in my opinion, puts pressure on you to get stuff done. And I'm okay with that, because if not, I don't know, that external source, it's me. It's who I am. Yeah, maybe for you, it works really well. You can just tell yourself, and that's good. And that is probably the most important. But at the same time, like by telling other people and putting a little bit of pressure on yourself, I think that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't think that there's, I don't see an issue with that.
It works for me. Like I do it with, so the trainers at the gym, you know what I mean? I talk to them all the time, tell them the ideas that we have, where we want OTG to go, and here's what we're going to do. And by telling them, they're relying on me now to follow through.
Absolutely.
And so that puts a lot of pressure on me, but because whenever I want to give up, I just think about them.
Yeah. Well, so I think I can relate to that real quick, and then we'll sum all this up. We'll break it all down. If like right now I'm doing 75 hard, Andy Frisella's program, and I only got I think there's 6 people that follow me on social media or something like that, and 2 of them actually care.
Yeah.
Shout out, Mom. But no.
And Jess.
And Jess, yeah. Well, I said 2.
Yeah.
We don't want to give the other one away.
Yeah.
That's for a future win. I need to stack up.
There's the 2.
But so I'm doing 75 hard, and if I just told myself that and I began doing it, there might be a day where I'm like, nobody really knows, right? And then you show up, nobody really knows, and you show up to an event, or you feel tired after work one day, and you just passively let it go, right? You don't go do your 2 workouts. You eat the junk food. You drink the beer or whatever, and nobody really knows, and I think that everybody can fall victim of that. So what I did was 8 days in, I said, you know what? I'm going to get online. I'm going to get on my Instagram with all 6 of my followers and, all 14 of my Facebook friends. And I'm going to post that I'm doing this thing. Hey, I'm doing 75 hard. I started on this day, and I try to get on there a couple times a week and get an update.
I'm really bad at social media, but I did a Facebook Live whenever I first started.
Well, and so the point of to sum all this up is now you've put it out there, right? You've gotten a little bit uncomfortable, maybe the buzzword vulnerable in a way. Like you've made yourself now you've put yourself in a position for others to hold you accountable. And that can be leveraged for sure. I'm not saying that everybody has to do that, and you can grow in silence if that's the type of person that you are, and then you can put it all out there too if you want. I think there's more than one ways to do this, right? To get it done. And this is all back to the original point. Greatness is self-defined and relative to the individual, and your goals can be self-defined, and where you start, where you begin to build your momentum is self-defined, and it's unique to the individual, right? So let's wrap this episode up, Phil.
Yep.
And momentum's important, man. You get a little win, and this thing starts to snowball, right? And then it doesn't get easier, you get better, right? So let's lay it out. I think I got 5 or 6 steps here. I was kind of jotting to close this thing out on my notepad that I got here. I think number 1 is to decide what is the ultimate goal, what's the end game,
the big goal. Yep.
Write it down, right? Create the plan on how to get there. Break it down as many times as you need to. Step number 2, I don't think we talked about this, and I have it written really large on my notepad here. Begin.
Oh, yeah. Actually start.
Begin. Just look, we decided we wanted to do a podcast. We had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
But what did we do? We began. After several failed meetings, after the lady vacuuming in the hallway, after the GoPro not working, after not getting my backdrop hung, it didn't matter. We began. And we're going to slowly work the kinks out of this thing.
Yeah.
So just one example. So you've decided what the ultimate goal is. You've made the plan big and you've broken it down. You begin. No matter how small, you have to start.
Right.
Start, right? Wherever you're comfortable with, right? From your baseline. So you start to stack the small wins. You've began, which is stacking a small win, right? Or it is a small win, beginning. Sure. You start to stack them up, your little wins. You drank 1 less beer. You ate 1 less cookie. You stay accountable to yourself. You do the things that you say that you're going to do, and you cultivate this, you create this inner dialogue that says, how good does it feel whenever you tell yourself you're going to do something and you do it?
That feels great.
And you go check that box. At the end of the day, you look at your to-do list and everything's crossed off. That's badass, man. I like
Feel
that.
good.
My
Sleep good at night.
I am OCD's all happy and stuff. I'm like, ooh, I did stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so you maintained your accountability to yourself. You did the things you said you were going to do, and maybe you fell down. Maybe you missed that day, but you don't slide back.
Right.
You grit your teeth
And you keep going.
and you keep on moving. Right. You don't. Oh man, I ate one cookie, so now I'm not going to work out, and now I am going to go drink this weekend, and I'll just restart on Monday. It's bullshit.
Yep.
That's what that is, and I've done it. That's why I can speak on that. I've done that multiple times in my life, and I was bullshitting myself. Right. That's straight up. That was bullshit, and I try to move as far away from that as I can now. And number 6, you experience growth. And that's not something that you actually have to do. That is something that is going to happen.
It will happen. It's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed to happen. So you lay out what's the ultimate goal. You create the plan. You begin. You start stacking the small wins. You maintain accountability to yourself, and you experience the growth. And that's it. What was that, 5? I think that was 5.
I think it's 6. I see 6 numbers.
Well, don't worry about my numbers here. Look, I think it's 5. Hold on. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about the fact that I can't count very well, Phil, right?
Either way, those are the steps.
Those are the steps.
growth will happen, and with growth,
And the fifth, so it's really 4 steps, and the 5th one, the growth experience, is just going to happen.
it's natural.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. And that will help to keep the momentum going. So I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah. All right, great ones. Hey, you do those 5 steps, you will experience growth. Get the momentum going, y'all. Momentum is very, very important, and it can make or break it. It can make or break you, and it'll be the difference maker at the end. You start to gain more and more momentum.
Yep. And keep it rolling.
All
Feel
right.
the growth.
All right, great ones. Gain momentum. We're out.